story.
Hi, everyone. This is Krishna Priya. This is the Human Colony Hucolo webinar. It's Saturday, the 21st of
20th.
January. Thank you. 2024. 20th. Oh,
Yes.
This is Krishna Priya. And this is that's YouTube. So we know that's working. Webinar is Saturday, the 21st. I give up now. Okay, there we go. Hi, it's the 20th of January. I'm living in the future. We have today with us our very special guest, Jacque Nelson. She is a channeler of the Mary group. And so we're really excited to have her and have her tell her story as well as do some channeling for us. So welcome. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you. What we generally do and we will do now is we will start with an announcement and some blessings, and then we will go into our talk with you, if that's okay. Okay, Angie, go ahead with your announcement.
Hello, everybody. We have our Hucolo gathering scheduled for August 8th through August 12th, 2024. Price is $6.95, and it is here in beautiful Canandaigua on Canandaigua Lake. And it is for the 4 nights, 5 days. If you're interested, please email classes@hucolo.org. I will get all the information out to you, send the flyer to you so that you can take a look at it. We are also doing a galactic energy healing class. It is scheduled for Sunday, February 28th from noon to 5 Eastern Standard Time. Price is $150. Again, classes@hucolo.org. That's the general email that you send the information to, and I will get any information out to you about that.
Perfect. So please come. It's getting closer and closer. I'm getting more excited. So yay. All right. So we'll start with some blessings. I saw Susan wants to do a blessing. Who else wants to do one? Wendy. We'll do Wendy. Susan. We'll do Wendy and Susan. Gosh. We'll do Wendy and Susan. If there's anybody else, put your I can do one in the chat, and then we'll start. But we'll start with Susan and then Wendy. I need to pray. I need to calm down.
Tia sia ko tia ia sikia ia tuku ia hitia o sakai kitia o ko te ia hi hia zoku ia siki te kia tuku ha sia hioko to ia tia ia sika ia tuku ia. Let the divine feminine rise within you. Suko te ia tia kutu sika ia titia hia sia kutu ia si ia ti hia si balance it with the masculine. Sia kutu ia hitia ia suku ia tia ia hitia hia sia kutu ia hi express and nurture your heart. Sia kutaya hia ukutoya hi sikita otoya ti hia zia kutaya hia si kutoya hi hia zia tukutu darekia ukuto. It is time to speak up. Sia kia tuku hia zia ya suku. Let your feminine voices be strong. Sia ya kite tuku ya tia uku hazia ya kite ya uku tia ya si hia zia tuku yo tu tuku. Your love is much needed in your world. Sia ya kite ya ukuto ya si hazukutaya ya tia kutu ya sia kua ya tia kutu ya si kaya kua hiesaya kitia tutuya. Blessings.
Thank you. Let's keep them short if we can. Thank you. Wendy, go ahead.
Thank you. This is Kwanya. Na tatuia na ha tutuia ni urunia la pahi kata tutuia ni I tutuia ma I te tutu no tutuia makata. Blessings from the divine. The motherly love is here. The mothers are here supporting Mary, and we look forward to her beautiful energies today. And so keeping it short and sweet. Blessings.
Thank you. Thank you. Wendy would we'd have to bring them both back. They would start going. So we have to keep them under control. Okay. Jacque, it's nice to meet you. So why don't you, let me just put you on full screen here so that everyone can see you. Okay, there we go. So why don't you tell everyone a little bit about your journey, how you your spiritual path, you told me just a tiny bit, but what really opened you up, and then how it's led to you channeling, and who is the Mary group?
I'll do the best I can. Well, as we were talking about before, I was raised Catholic, and I think it was, well, I know it was when my husband and I actually did became Reiki masters together. In connecting with the Reiki energy, I felt something really real and connective open in me. And so instead of, just, being around religion or, that sort of thing, I understood somehow in those unfolding moments how we are, source. We are so connected. It's all streaming, and everything started to shift. So we started opening up and doing lots of different things and explorations. We hosted speakers and people in our home. We had a small metaphysical shop for a little bit of time. And then I was introduced to Robert DeBeal. I don't know if any of you are familiar with him. And he wrote a book called Body Signals. So how to understand what your body's letting you know in your spiritual connection. And I went and saw him, and he encouraged me to sit down with Don and meditate for 5 minutes a day and call in, our path, our direction. So I came home, I talked to my husband about it, and 5 minutes, I think, was on my behalf because my husband has been meditating since he was like 12. He learned transcendental meditation, and I can't sit still long enough to meditate, actually, which is interesting. Or I hadn't been. I'm better at it now. And so we sat down for 5 minutes, and the very first time we sat down together, I started like my face, I started contorting and moving in ways that were like, I could feel it. I wasn't doing myself. It was interesting, and but I'm very much like, oh, that was fascinating, and moving on. So the second day we sat down, then my whole body got involved in that. And we always tell the joke that my husband's going, you can't even sit still for 5 minutes. But then, and I started getting like, just feeling and sensing absolutely, a presence, that it wasn't me, that it was connecting in. And the third time, the Marys came all the way through. It's certainly evolved since that first interaction with them. And I always tell the story that I was kind of laying down, and they wanted me to sit up, and I'm kind of stubborn by nature. They said, if you want to sit up, you sit me up. And they sprung me up like a whoop, like this, and my body popped up, and Don looks over at me. And then it went from there. They started talking, they moved about the room a little bit, they were sharing things. There was I'm really condensing this story, but there was a super poignant moment when I was on the floor, Don was still on the bed, and for some reason he reached down and touched my hand, and the Marys were fully in, and they just burst with this, like, the most extraordinary, pure love and appreciation for touch.
Mhm.
And it was just beautiful, and it was amazing, and still so imprinted in me, to honor and have such appreciation for our physicality and what we get to do with that. So that was our first experience of them coming in, and they talked with us for quite a while, or talked with Don, and then when it was kind of wrapping up, he said, wait a minute, what, will you be back? And they said, anytime you ask. And he said, what can we call you? And at that point, it felt like it was only one being to me in that moment. And that being said, well, I had a lifetime where I was called Mary. So you can call me Mary. And that's kind of where it started. And then we would sit, we had a small group of close friends that we would bring them through and start to open up and see, what their messages were, what they had to come through. And in the beginning, it was, it would take me a long time. After the first one, that was so easy. Then I think, my personality and those things came into play, and it took longer, and the Marys were just so great at working through all of that. And now it's, pretty instantaneous. I mean, it's 20 24 years later. So
Yeah.
20.
Yeah, I recognize so many things of what you said, especially like that first initiation of having to negotiate how you feel in your body, how they feel in your body, and working through like how does the voice sound and how do you move physically and really decide. And also the thing about touch. There was a time when I was channeling where I was doing a lot of open eye channeling, and when I would do groups, just wanting to sit and hold the person that you were talking to, hold their hands. It was such a love exchange that because we are physical, we have singular focus. So we have the experience of physicality where when you're not in a body, you just don't get it. You don't get to have that. And so I recognize that. So it's really beautiful to hear. That's a confirmation just even for me.
Yeah, it's really amazing. Yeah.
So-
And it really does give then, me and you and anybody who's had that, like so much, I think, deeper appreciation for
Yeah.
that physical.
Do you is the Mary that you're channeling, is that connected in any way to Virgin Mary or any historical Mary? Is it, or is it just Mary that happened to be a Mary?
It's a Mary that happened to be a Mary. What I can tell you though is there's the Mary that's in the group. It's just being flooded with love. So it's just this pure, absolute love that is of loving, as they refer to it. And yet it's not Mother Mary, Virgin Mary. That one has, come in. We say sometimes we have guest appearances.
Yeah.
And it's no, so we call the whole group the Marys. There's 9, 3 of them have never been physical. The rest have had physical life experiences.
Is it all female?
No. Interestingly enough, it's it's mixed. So the Marys talk about how each one of us and our physical beings, we're both divine masculine, divine feminine. And so there's definitely though like the sense that Mary's feminine. I can share with you like what we've learned to call them by name, and not because they needed names, but we want to be able to identify that. So I would say that the poet is a really big blend of masculine and feminine. The ancient one comes to me as ancient divine feminine, actually. The director is more masculine. The teacher is more masculine to me. Other people feel it differently. Other people key into the other energy and vibration of that. So it's a mix.
And the other question I had is, did you know what channeling was before you had this experience?
Very, very vague idea of it. It isn't anything that I ever, so I had been introduced to Abraham.
Right.
And we had listened. We had a friend that gave us this big box of cassette tapes. This was years and years ago, obviously, and said, "Hey, I think you'll love this group. Just listen to them." And we did. We listened to them. We were so fascinated by all of it. And so that was my experience with channeling, was listening to old Abraham cassette tapes.
I had the CDs. I had a bunch of CDs. I listened for like 3 years from like 2000 to 2000.
Yeah. So, so it wasn't anything I knew was somewhere in the mix for me. And I really believe it's, we all connect. We all connect in one way or another. And because it's a continuous existence, right? So, but to be able to let go and have them come through, it is my preference. I really do. I go. People ask me where I go when the Marys are in, and I say, I actually think I'm where I'll be when I'm dead. And it's just a big, amazing, extraordinary vibrational space of, pure love. So, yeah. So I witness, I notice what's going on, but I don't want to be in the mix of it. I like it to stay a pure, direct connection.
Is your husband sort of, or was he in the beginning and maybe even still now, sort of the facilitator of the questions and the?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Very much the instigator of me actually continuing to lean in and do it. And yeah, he's so curious and he had so many questions, and We've had, so many, now he feels like the shoemaker's child that never gets any shoes because everybody else gets the time to have the shoes.
Does he channel?
He does not channel.
Okay.
No, well, not like this. But he's that he's a really steady force. He channels through, excuse me, just different kinds of way of connecting in with spirit and life itself, and the vibrational flow. So no, but he does all the support work. He does all the stuff that, the techie stuff that I'm not good at. He's pretty amazing actually, and he holds space. So it's kind of like my anchor that makes sure I come back.
Oh, perfect. And as I look behind you, you have these beautiful paintings. This is your art. You're an artist.
I am an artist, and it's interesting. I'm still getting that to come out. It started just a couple years ago that I started painting. I'd always felt like there was something in there that could come out, but every time I tried, it was just a mess. So a couple years ago, it actually started to flow through. So it's been that for me is my meditation when I sit down with a brush and a canvas.
Yeah, meditation doesn't have to be just one thing.
Yeah.
Whatever allows you to still your mind and just be in a flow state, basically. That's it, and connect. Yeah, that's great. Can you tilt your head, like, because the one directly behind you, I see. And
So this is actually and I can turn this.
oh yeah.
It's actually a commission piece. A friend of mine who she actually wanted a giant one, but I didn't know how we were going to ship there, get it to her. So we did a triptych, 3 pieces, and it's kind of a story of her and her husband, calling in their 3 children
Oh, beautiful.
and then creating, a home. And it's fun if you can see it. There's a little, I've got some canvases in a way, but there's a little dog popping its head up off the bottom of the canvas.
You have to include the dog.
Yes, because it's a huge part of their family. So it's been a joy to make, and it'll go in a space where she feels great connectedness. Her kids are all grown now, and this is a space where they would all come in and put their stuff in their lockers and come home. So I'm so excited to get them to her.
It's really beautiful. Wonderful. There we have an artist in our room right now. I'm sure my artisty questions. So yeah. Okay. So so just before we get started, so you do classes, get-togethers, channeling. What do you do when you're to share your beautiful work?
Well, we do private sessions, one-on-one. We do, like I said, just did a live group last night, just reacclimating to that, post-COVID. And we do a lot of series and meditations via Zoom. I'm actually really excited. I'm collaborating with a friend who's a phenomenal being who has a center called Altar in Chicago and it's really for the center where women can come and unfold and let the divine in them come out and share with each other. And it's just a beautiful space she's created. And we're starting to gather circles of 13 women to tap into the human well of wisdom and the key that the divine feminine holds in this time. So tomorrow I'll be doing we did one live full day immersion. Tomorrow we're doing a 4-hour virtual immersion over Zoom. And then people who have done the immersion, we just feel like it's important to kind of come together and all have the same base that are, similar that we're building from of wisdom tending, of really stepping out and up as who we are as the divine feminine. Really important in this time in our world. And the Marys are really here because they are all about humans remembering who they are and shifting out of what they call the age of separation and into our natural and authentic state of existence, which is union. And so bringing the key of the divine feminine forward in that. So we're going to start our first circle of 13 women doing wisdom tending together. And, I'm excited to see how it grows and flourishes from there, of really germinating a synergy and an energy in our world.
That's beautiful. So what would you define wisdom tending as?
You know, it's actually being present, knowing our connectedness, being aware of, the wisdom carriers, the wisdom beings that we are. At our world so often bypasses that, and we bypass it. One of the things that and this is a little bit, different than that. So wisdom we know, every human, when we, in that, when you can just, even in one breath, still yourself into truth and awareness. And it opens that, what Mary calls the nectar of your actual true voice that speaks, whether that's verbally or not, and listens.
Mhm.
And when we meet in that space, when we can know that space within us, and and that germinates the wisdom that we each carry, that's unique signature. And then we can feel it in ourselves, we can see it and call it out in others. And so that's what we're moving on.
Beautiful, beautiful. I like that so much. And Wendy was just saying, I'm in the Chicago area, so
Oh, are you really? Oh, wonderful.
your website is jackienelson.com.
No, my website is actually themarygroup.com.
Oh, well, see, then I'm wrong. Please, I have to make sure that I wrote it right in the mail.
Yeah. So the Mary, MARY, themarygroup.com. I do have an art website that is JackieNelsonArt.com.
Well, they would get close, but not exactly.
Right.
Very good.
Would
Okay,
take you to Mary's.
speaking of the Mary group, why don't if you're ready and if they're willing, it would be beautiful to have them come through. And you said it just takes you a second, but do they generally start with a sort of opening monologue or however they want to? Maybe that would be if they're willing to kind of give an opening message and then
Okay.
open to questions. If that's within their joy.
We can ask.
Sure.
Yeah, I never, one of the true pleasures of this is I never know what they're up to.
Okay.
I can feel them, they're excited, they're happy to be here, and yeah, I'm more than happy to release and let them come through, and they said they got your note.
Okay. And
So,
okay.
beautiful.
Thank you. And then just one last question. Is there anything that they don't talk about, or what is the sort of purview of, what their discussions are about? Is there any?
They're what they really, really love talking about, what they're here for is to talk with us about who we actually are as humans. And they often talk about, all of humanity, and then the human participation in humanity. They are really about they talk often that they are here to assist us with shifting from separation into union. So primarily that's and then how we do that within our own internal communities, how we open and move and become and cause and understand our connectedness and our fluidness and really bring ourselves out. That's what they get jazzed about, and they'll really talk about anything.
Okay, perfect. All right. So just so we know what
Yeah.
what
Right.
questions would be
Okay, I'm gonna take these off because I don't need to see.
That's right. Okay, great. So whenever you're
I tend to take no shoes, no jewelry, no glasses. Now my glasses they've learned to leave on, but jewelry they used to give away. And I always say, people say, why do you take your jewelry off? And I'm like, it's like for me personally, when I come in the door from being outside, while I was out and about, I didn't even feel my shoes on my feet. But when I'm in, that's all I can feel is my shoes on my feet. So it's just about getting comfortable and let my energy be free. So jewelry they think is lovely. It's beautiful expression. It offers a lot of vibration, but that's why they tend to say, here, this looks like it's for you. And they give it to people. So I just take it off now.
That's cute. Check your outfit before you go, see what you
Yeah. Thankfully, they leave my clothing on. All right. See you later. They're humorous, just so you know.
That's great.
They're not very serious. Ha! Ha ha! Hello, 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 hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We just want to take a moment, if we might, if you'll allow it. Since you've invited us, since you've followed your yes, whether you understand it or not, to this moment right here in this gathering, to being who you are and where you are and in this interaction. We'd like to take a moment to kind of sniff it up, yes? Feel the combining, feel the gift, the alchemy of coming together. We often offer to people this greeting. Welcome to this place where you have always been and never been before. And if you give yourself a moment to just soften and allow your pores to open and to realize, yeah, always, I've always known. I've always been in this experience. And yet it's brand new and I'm brand new in it in this moment. There's everywhere to go. And there's everywhere I've been. And there's the everywhere and everything and allness of this moment, the aliveness. And continue to feel your precious breath that has so much message in your human world. And we often remind people, we're going ahead and launching because you invited us to do an opening, yes? we thank you very much for your invitation, our friend.
Thank you.
We often remind people to breathe your own breath. That doesn't mean to individuate yourself. And yet within the oneness and the wholeness and the true and source of existence that you are of, and the isness of it all, you have a unique expression of breath that is your very own. And what we notice in your humanity so often, and it is shifting, you are in a really, really nourishing time in your world. That when you come in, when humans come into, when you incarnate, that very first breath you draw is the absoluteness of self. You came in excited, you came in to be an answer and an add and an ask. You came in to be you, to bring your unique expression. And in that first breath, it's pure. The second breath, we see that you start to, acclimate to the world you're coming into. There's sometimes a kind of a contrasting or differing sense and feeling of from where you've been to where you are, what you are experiencing in physical world with all of the physical movement and beings. And our reminder to you is to begin to let your breath from right where you are right now. And we know you've done it throughout your whole life. Yes, in differing moments, in differing times, you can maybe even reflect. And when you inhaled and exhaled your own breath in the midst of a moment, and you felt the fullness of your grace and the truth of your purity of loving, and you felt the actualness of self in who you are before any other idea of you, including sometimes your own, particularly a lesser idea got in the mix. You feel the true wholeness of yourself as a union existence. And through that, open your senses and recognize everything else also as that. And that is brilliance. And brilliance can be right with messiness, yes? Messiness is also brilliant in its own absolute way. And so it's to feel the wonder of yourself and all of the differing movements of you, and to inhale and to exhale. And one of the things that we've moved with a good friend of ours, we had a great conversation with her around that breath is this one, beautiful, we'll utilize the word mechanism, yes, or fluidness in the human expression that moves on its own without even your conscious effort or or joining with it consciously. And it also can move very much with you joined and choosing and combining with it, and choosing if it's short breaths, long breaths, all of the different ways you can partner with your breath to partner with you. It's a wondrous thing. And one of the pieces that we also bring in is that it is a continuous messenger and reminder and inviter to you to remember the beauty and the gift in your world of mutual exchange. The inhale, divine, meets and lingers with for just a moment in the exchange, the exhale, which is also, divine, extraordinary, which meets with the inhale. And it does this mutual exchange and continuation of gifting one another. And yet, the inhale without the exhale struggles. Sometimes completes. In the same way with the exhale without the inhale. Such a messenger that in it together, connecting, giving oneself to self and one another. We often, when we are together with people, and you can do it here, you can do it in a given moment, you can do it whether somebody's in the room with you or across the world from you. I'm going to inhale and I'm going to send my exhale to you as you inhale. And we combine, we feel that sense of our connectedness through choice and remembering. And then you take that inhale and you send your exhale to the next person as they inhale. And the linkage and the linkage and the linkage. Of course, we were nosing in and we heard you, Karen, speaking of connecting hands and the pulse that moves through that, the truth, the love that is of loving. That brings you all home or expands the edgelessness of home into true. It is the same with your breath. And so even within you, as you recognize it in myself, as I breathe my own breath in the midst of all that is occurring, I can ground and truly know and feel and sense the signature of my own essence without any need to individuate it, and yet be in the celebration and the wonder of this precious life that I am expressing, side by side by side by side with every other precious life, breathing my own breath and sensing and feeling another breathing their own. And that is that mutual exchange and movement of relieving the practice of deriving self from fear and even fearfully loving self or others into the true and actual, natural, authentic existence of love that is of loving, your natural way of being. We are ecstatic for every opportunity we have to exchange with every one of you who is in human form, who has the joy and the generosity and the beauty of experiencing your physical self, your physical world, your physicality of your senses, which your senses have physical awareness, of course, as you know, and a non-physical sense of awareness. And that moves with your intuition and your instinct and your knowing. We're just spilling a few things out there for conversation, and we can take this anywhere you want to go, any inquiry you would like. We just offering some pieces, yes. When people talk about heart, mind, body, soul, spirit, we call that your arc of union. when you realize that your heart and your soul and your spirit and your mind, and we say minds, by the way, and we'll talk about that. We say you put a project on the table, you bring a thought or an idea or a desire or a passion, and you put it in the center, and it's a round table that your heart, your soul, your mind, your spirit, and of course your body, which is the physicality of the movement of all of them in your current expression. And they come together, realizing and knowing and sharing what they bring, what their element with you is, their of and as you, to move with you, to partner with you. You've got your minds and your soul and your heart and your spirit always continuously with you. And sometimes you synergize that and getting excited with someone else with theirs. And we have a whole practice that we bring people through to allow each one of those elements of you to speak about what they bring while the others listen. Because so often humans operate with those things separated from each other, or sometimes in conflict with each other. And when you bring them together to synergize, you are absolutely moving with your essence, who you are as source, who you are as love that is of loving, and everything opens. And why we say minds is that you have a beautiful thinking, processing mind. And by the way, it is edgeless and unlimited. We call it the Grand Library. Everything that has ever occurred in your conscious and unconscious awareness in this lifetime and in any lifetime expression, not only your own, but that which anyone you've been connected to, in the purity of it, of course, is there. And so anything you need, and you can access into your beautiful thinking, processing mind, is infinite in its ability to put different combinations of thought and experience and awarenesses known to you consciously and unconsciously together to bring forth differing possibilities. You are infinite in just that one way of you. And then you have what we call your being mind, the connective space. We often say, that is the connector between your physical self and the entirety of the non-physical existence, the oneness. And that mind is the being mind that assures that connectivity. Anytime you tap into it, your awareness expands infinitely. And you connect it then with who you are in your current expression. And you have epiphanies and ideas and creations and causings that you hadn't even imagined before. And suddenly they're just there. And sometimes with no detail yet, just feeling, just that knowing. Because then it can activate what we call the particles wagging their tails to begin to cause into form what matches that sensation. And when we speak of your heart, that is what we refer to as your wisdom center. It is deeply wise. And it is real. And yes, so much love moves through that space. And we often remind people that once you have loved someone or something, your heart does not know how to stop or discontinue that love. It just isn't there to stop because it's whole and it's real. And so we watch people ache and in pain, maybe if a relationship has dissolved or something they love doing, or maybe even a way their body moved with prowess that isn't occurring in the moment and may not be available any longer because of another experience or purpose you're moving into. And you can feel an ache, and I loved that, or I loved that person, or I loved me loving that person. No, I still get to what I get to keep is the love, not trying to stop that. That's what hurts. It's not loving something. It's the sometimes movement of the attempt to disconnect or stop. I get to have that love forever. it may change very much in how it operates or moves to meet who you are now and what your need and your divinity is in the moment. And so to trust your heart and its loving. And with your soul, we have had, and maybe even some of you talk about maybe how the soul can get damaged somehow. And we really, and when we truly speak against nothing, we actually say, please relieve the practice of against energy. It gets you nowhere. And yet we do bring through a truth that your soul is always pure and well. We call it your continuous golden flowing liquid of existence. Yes, it's wondrous. Sometimes your relationship with your soul or your connectedness with your soul can feel strained or difficult or out of sync. And choosing to breathe your own breath and sit with your soul will quickly bring the connective into that fluid, fully open, into where you think and believe and understand and respond and learn, all of it. And you're soulfully there in your relationship with your soul. It's grand. And then let's just speak for a moment about your spirit from our perspective. Your spirit, from our perspective, when we refer to it, we are talking about the way of you. Like, that's my spirit. That's the way of me. That's how I show up. That's that signature of your essence, yes? And in your world, you notice they talk about breaking somebody's spirit or some, a beast spirit so that they will conform. And sometimes with the best of intention, through what we call fearful loving. Those who care for you the most will move to break your spirit so that they feel like they can feel safe about who you are and how you are in the world. So you can move among and not disturb and not be alone, to tame that down or calm that or call yourself back. And we really say, let your spirit be free, because it holds the absolute knowing of the truth of you, which is why it carries no fear, not even self-preservation fear, because it's so knowing of this existence of what you actually are. It's your essence. It's your truth expressed in physical. And so when you let that be open, it doesn't need fear, because when you connect with it, you've got yourself in your own hands with this absolute depth of clarity about you and how you interact with every morsel and particle, moving part of life. And it holds your timing. We heard you do some banter and talk about, well, we don't start on time, and we often offer, or do you always start on time? When you let go of an idea of what this is where where the clock says something, let's lean into where our spirits all say, okay, let's go. Let's do it now. Now is my now. Even if someone else's now was 5 hours or 5 minutes or 5 seconds before or after yours, your now is your now. And when you lean in with your spirit and you breathe that excellence of the joy, and you let it nourish you, and you become unafraid of self, and you move into love that is of loving and exploration and discovery, your spirit is tantalizing. And so anywhere you've repressed, anywhere you've modified, and the difference between, for us, we've given you like what you call a Reader's Digest version of many things, yes? The difference between modifying and adjusting is that to modify, you must give up something of yourself or something that feels very mattering or important to you. And we encourage everybody to discontinue the practice of modifying, and to also discontinue the practice of asking anyone else to do that. And instead, to recognize Yeah, we all need to adjust because every one of us is uniquely differing. And that's the beauty. And when we adjust, we can come together. We can cause and create and learn and gain from one another edgelessly. Boundaries without, hard stops or borders. Realization of adjusting that contributes to, offers to, because is part of your ad and your an answer that you are in every moment, not the answer. We watch people just devastated by their attempt to be the answer. Know that the answer is the combined whole and all of the synergies of that moving fluidly. And yet you are an answer in every given moment. I'm an answer. I'm an answer. How can I lean in with that? And you're an answer. And you're an answer. Oh, let's start talking. Let's bring those together and cause union. Cause the actualness of the authentic nature of our beings. In microcosms of moments or very personal expressions and experiences of something that feels important or necessary or driving or passionate. For me, the value of the I am that is equal value to every other particle of existence and it with you. In that mutual exchange, that your breath, your inhale, and your exhale is there to continuously remind you of. Not even Stephen, that is very differing. Mutual exchange. We are each an answer in every moment. And when we open that, then yes, your wisdom is so fluid and your connectedness and true, coming true is vivid. And you are breathing. That's our rant. What you got?
Thank you so much. We do have a question from Wendy. We'll start with you.
Beautiful.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for that beautiful, loving message. That was just absolutely wonderful. The question that I have is related to conferences and women's groups. I've been told that I'm to work with the Divine Feminine and lead groups. And
Okay.
I'm wondering if you can give me some more insights as to what that role is. Thank you.
Okay, absolutely. So, we might have a couple questions for you, yes, because we're all about conversation. Yes. So when you say to us, I've been told, yes, what we want to know is, did your yes match that? Do you feel a response to this that feels true for you?
Yes, and the I've been told was myself.
Oh, good. We were going to say, and who told you? All right. So I told myself this, yes, and I believe I'm accurate, yes. And so, wow, we have another question for you, yes. What turns you on? Like what gets your saliva glands activated?
Travel. Working with nature and being outside and I guess drumming and conversation, those types of things.
Okay, so that's it. So combining that knowing within you, yes, and wow, if I'm gonna dive into doing this, then I'm gonna call in the partnering of nature and music and conversation because that gets me activated. That brings me most clearly into it, and it lets me open to invite others into that because that's what gets it moving. If you say, well, where will it fit or what is it? It's let me open the actualness of what, turns me on, gets me cranking, and then share that. Is that helpful? Is that understandable for you?
Yeah, that is.
So we always want to go lay on the earth, have a great conversation. We know in some parts of your world it's pretty cold to do that right now, yes? And maybe bundle up, do it anyway, yes? Or just imagine yourself with it because that's still as clear. But it is like It's women and nature and music and conversation. What opens the throat? What opens the expression center? What allows us to speak? And not because it gave us permission. What in us that like knows and has that movement? We just see this titillation in you of that's so exciting to feel that. Yes?
Yes, very much so.
Yeah. So when you're looking for direction, it's, and by the way, when someone asks us a question, we always look in you for the answers, because we always say there's not a big bag of magic answers, yes, out in the universe. They're all within you. So just so you know, we're always going to look to what in you is calling you to connect with it, to open, to bring yourself free into. So connecting your passion of knowing you really want to work with the divine feminine, knowing that it nourishes and satiates that within you that is the divine feminine. And by the way, we're going to give one more. When we answer for one person, we invite you all to lean in because there's always something in it for everyone. Yes. As you do it, we're just going to encourage, really spend yourself on it. Yes. And the reason we say that is sometimes when people are looking, they kind of get spent by what they're doing. Like I'm not sure I feel a little spent by it instead of like it's something I can spend myself on. So even if you're not like, it's like I can't quite get to what the it is, then spend yourself on sitting with the it, having a conversation with it, opening it, and showing up there, because that's when everything comes open, and all of those epiphanies and answers as you're connected through that being mind start to unfold. And we had a conversation. If you don't mind, we like to rant off in directions sometimes. A friend of ours told us when we were talking with her, she said, I was going to go do this thing that seemed like something I really wanted to do, but I was just so tired. And we listened, and we so honoringly always, we love every morsel, every way that everyone moves. It's an add and an answer to everything. Yes. And then we asked her, is it true that you're tired? And her response was, yeah. And you know what? I've talked to a lot of people who are tired, and we grin with our beautiful grin, and we invite our friend again. Let's talk about what tired is. Because tired in its original form, what tired actually is that satiated, extraordinary, delicious feeling when you lay down at the end of the day, or even in the midst of it, and say, oh, I spent myself today, or I spent myself on that conversation, or on that exchange, or on that walk, or on that whatever it is. I showed up and spent myself. Tired is a wonderful feeling. It's confused, we know, in your world. What our friend was referring to was that she was exhausted. And does it feel important to know the differing? Maybe yes, because we wouldn't want you to miss out on tired. Exhaustion is when you feel spent by things that are going on, or you're not knowing quite how to get to something you're reaching for. And then you feel kind of spent by it, and maybe anxious about it, or depleted, or those sorts of things. And so then if you take that breath into your center and you say, you know what, instead of feeling spent by not knowing exactly what my route is, I'm going to spend myself on it. And then you show up, and every human, believe it or not, you love hanging out with you. You love who you are. You love bringing yourself to things. And we know you do. And so it's like, I'm going to spend myself on this gaining into what my answer for how I even just start my direction into doing this, and then keep spending myself on how that expands. And there will be times when you say, okay, I'm going to shift this thing that in my life that I feel like I'm being spent by. I'm going to start spending myself on it. And you might be able to look at, because it's an internal shift. I'm going to spend myself on it. And you might find quickly, or over just a little bit of time, that it doesn't stick, that it does end up spending you again and feels exhausting. And in those instances, that's your signal, that's your story for you, knowing, oh, this is one of those things that I get to love from, that I used to do that, or be in that, that experience or that situation. And it's, its time has passed, and I'm going to spend myself on letting that go and leaning forward. And so we know we went off in lots of directions with that. And yet, really, when you're asking yourself, what's my way? Remember the last time that you really laughed or felt deeply enriched, or what turns you on, and you'll find the key ingredients to your direction forward.
Beautiful. Thank you so very much for that and the elaboration. It was very
Yes,
fulfilling as well.
Yes,
Thank
you're
you.
so very, very welcome. It is our honor, always, every time.
Thank you.
And by the way, we really do want to say we're so excited that you're leaning into this, because whew, it's an answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to ask a question from Joan. She doesn't have a microphone.
Okay.
She says, can you enlighten me about the souls? Does the soul have consciousness, and how do souls know themselves or know itself?
Ah, so we're going to maybe make you curious for a moment, because we our first response to that is a conversation we had where we sometimes say, sometimes it's difficult to see the blue mist when you are the blue mist. And what we mean by that is yes, soul is consciousness. And it's continuous, and that's that beginninglessness and that endlessness of existence that is soul. And then it has expressions of itself, like you are a current expression of your soul, and yet your soul isn't deciding for you. And that's why we say create a really great relationship with your soul, because it's an extraordinary mentor and partner in you living an expressed life. And it's completely and absolutely of that life you're expressing also. It isn't like it's somewhere else away from you. And so soul is source itself. We sometimes talk about the primordial ooze. We look for words that might find a way to meet into human expression that take you somewhere. The primordial ooze of existence, and the souls that spark in yeses there to cause and create a specific note or way or add that then is, of course, of the oneness of existence, and very clear in its own note. One of the things we do often is, if someone asks us, or they're telling us a story, they want to know something about themselves, and it involves another person, living or transitioned or whatever, we will ask them to speak that person's name. And the reason, just their first name, and the reason we do that is that you have unique expressed experiences and relationships with absolutely every other being. So if, like, all of you, could speak Karen's name, we would see every one of you having a differing vibrational relationship. Everything's vibration first, yes, with her. And it's your own unique personal relationship. And that's about your souls connecting. Your souls know one another, not as distinct and different. Actually, when we talk about separation, that separation kind of took off because a being got curious about, what if we individually defined ourselves apart from the oneness. And union knows. And by the way, nature has always remained union. It has no separate. It's impacted by the practices of separation in humanity, but it has no separation of its own. That's why, like the vein, the third vein from the top on a leaf in the center of a tree in your yard knows what's going on with, the dewdrop dripping off of a flower petal on the other side of the planet. Yes, because it's all connected, and it knows itself as one another and as itself. In separation, there's this pull to make the individual, and yet souls can't do that. Souls have no interest. Like, your heart has no idea how to stop loving your wisdom in it. Your souls know that you are of the oneness, and you are a unique expression. And so as you live and your soul is a part of your expression of who you are, it gets to be revealed. Your soul gets to have revealed to it what this expression of you in your life is and how you move with it. It's extraordinarily depthful and rich to be in conscious relationship with your soul, knowing it's blue mist. And it's blue mist that is what everything is. It's vibration and it's pure. And just like nature in union, although nature is impacted because it's physical, and so there's a physical impact in nature of practices of separation and confusions in that. Your soul never becomes confused. It can recognize that your life is impacted by separation, and it's this great mentor and partner to assist you with knowing how to move with that, with your full absoluteness of love that is of loving, messy and brilliant, moving through you. We hope that's helpful to you.
Let me just let her comment. She says, beautiful, thank you.
Wonderful.
Perfect.
Yeah. And may we just add a little something?
Sure.
Her just because, we see a lot of imagery, her soul, like it just showed up it's kind of fun, a series of different kinds of shoes she can dance in. So it's it loves to dance and thrive, just so she knows.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Beautiful.
Okay, Susan has a question. Go ahead, Susan.
Hello, thank you for coming. I went to a women's empowerment group last night that I felt drawn to go to because last month in December, I went to a channeling event where it was told to me that my spirit guides want me to get in front of groups of people and give presentations or maybe channel, I'm not sure.
Okay.
And I'm still formulating like what subject matter I should speak about. And I know a couple years ago, because I'm an aspect of Mary Magdalene, that she told me that she would want to maybe channel through me and with groups of women. And so I'm just wondering, I'm still formulating or focusing on like what type of topics I should speak about, or if I'm meant to channel. And specifically, this is like a monthly women's empowerment group, and there was 3 female speakers last night, and every month they have new speakers. And I feel like I'm meant to be a future speaker at this event, but I was also told I would also maybe go to different expos and have a booth and present. And they mentioned Milwaukee as one location. So I'm just wondering any clarity or any, inkling as far as what's to come would be wonderful.
Okay. Ooh, you feel like ready. Yes.
Yes, it was a wonderful experience last night. Yes.
Yeah, beautiful. So what we want to offer is a little bit of, we spoke very briefly to, we see like last night, you were in the nectar of your own voice. Yes. And that's part of what's really calling you forward. So, we heard some shoulds, and I was told, and we really, we always say, shoulds kind of can come with a burden attached to them. We don't see you picking up a burden. Yes. There's an excitement and an excitement, and you have a loud yes, which is one of the most powerful tools of creation, by the way. When you have a yes and you lean in with it. Just a moment here, because you're looking for direction for topic. And of course, we're going to encourage what do you love about women? What do you love about what the divine feminine is like right now or has ever been in the world, whether it's been, modified or not. Yes. What gets your, it's so interesting. We want to say for you, gets your belly, full and ready and excited to participate and be nourished and to nourish. Just a moment here. And Mary Magdalene, and what about Mary Magdalene? It's so fun. She's like this velvet that just spreads out through you. What about her vibration and your connectedness of that? Really just satiates you? What do you want people to know? And we might actually add, what do you want to ask people about themselves associated with it? Because it's not about telling people about something. It's about, when you talk about a booth and it's about engagement and reaching in and inviting people to let themselves know who they are and what their richness is. And so what we see in you is, being able to share and ask people questions that allow that nectar of their voice to open. Is any of this landing or making sense to you?
Yes, I had to do a lot of work to like unblock my own throat chakra and let my authentic voice come out, and that's been a process over many years, the past, probably 4 or 5 years even.
Or,
And
well,
so
actually,
I can definitely relate. Yeah, or my whole life. Yeah. Um, so that definitely relates. Yeah, I kind of thought it had something to do with, yeah, expressing your authentic voice and your divine feminine power, letting that come out and standing in your power and just, yeah, just being who you are and
Mhm.
speaking your truth without fear, without,
Yeah. And
anything like that.
you're showing we get excited. So if we interrupt you, we apologize in advance. Yes.
Sure, go ahead and interrupt me. That's totally
Because
fine.
all of you bring in these imageries, yes. It's doing it with like, what's your specific movement with it that allows you to just really flow. The imagery you brought is doing it, assisting people with gaining their own authentic voice, and we want to say through wings instead of weightedness. Because we know that, sometimes transformation and moving through something can feel a little arduous and tricky and, all of those sorts of things. And that's great. Those all have gifts to offer. And yet you just showed this powerful image because we asked you, what's your way with it? And these big wings came out of helping people remember to bring out their wings so that they can have flight, so that they can have ease and lift, and to join themselves in that way as they discover and then use their authentic voice.
Absolutely beautiful. Thank you. And will channeling be part of that? Will I be getting in front of groups of people and channeling in person?
It's interesting. We tend not to move too much with the future because it changes in every moment. Yes.
Yes.
Yet right now we see an interest in you about that, like a welcome. I would welcome that to be a piece of it. And yet it doesn't feel like it's a necessary piece of it.
Okay.
We would say more for you, it might be getting into that wisdom. And of course, everyone is always actually channeling in a way. Yes. It's bringing that out. So you're going to find that you've got more wisdom and more awareness that you might say, wow, is that a channeled message? And you'll find out that's just actually me connected into the whole. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, I
And
find that I get intuitive messages all the time, intuitive hits,
yeah,
yeah, that I'm like, oh, that sounded like that was channeled or that
yeah,
would just, yeah, that I'm just bringing
yeah.
in that
So,
naturally without even trying. Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't, what we bring is it doesn't always, it doesn't always have to come from somewhere else. Yes. It's like every one of you is this absolute treasure of wisdom and truth and love and all of these things that you want to share. And you definitely get partnered with. So the more you move into that, then you may notice then the distinction of when it's your own voice and when you've had a guest show up. Yes.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes. Makes sense. Thank you very much. Much
Sweet.
love to you.
Ah, grateful. You are,
Wonderful.
more than welcome. We often like to play with that welcome, yes, because we like to shift it, and we know many of you have heard it posed in this way. We see it as an elevation energy to shift that welcome always into come well. Thank you for coming well. We really appreciate it, like coming becoming into your optimum absoluteness of well-being, because it gifts the world. Thank you.
Thank you.
Indeed.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, Kat has a question.
Okay.
Yes, I thank you for coming.
Yes. Yes.
My first question is, well, I came back from vacation like recently, and when I returned, I had a massive stuff, like personal stuff to release,
Mm-hmm.
and it was not unexpected, but it was a lot and a little bit different than with what I used to work with on myself.
Okay. And so this is an internal release or something in your environment?
Yeah. Internal release, like stuff, personal,
Okay.
emotional, or
Okay.
emotional. Yeah.
We have a couple questions for you. Yes.
Mhm.
Did you enjoy your vacation?
Yes.
What was,
Yeah.
ahead.
Yes. Then yes and no, but it was the weather was first
Okay.
first 10 days was, yeah, and I was.
Okay.
But other than that, yeah, I enjoyed it.
Okay. What was something about it? We love that you offered the weather, kind of that little bit of, disappointment of that. And yet, what was something you really enjoyed about your vacation? What did it give
I
you?
I enjoyed walking on the city. I enjoyed the food that the restaurant that I found,
Mhm.
not expensive, and cooked food.
Mhm.
And mostly I enjoyed the sun and the sitting under the sun and swimming in the ocean.
Beautiful. Okay. So what we were looking at is like what was moving in you? Because one of the things we speak with people about is we always encourage you to not go back home after vacation, to go forward home. And we see that you actually went forward home. Yes.
Yeah.
And so it is in that then we're looking at, what we see is like the movement, the unfolding that you had, and we see the intensity of it. Yes. You had gained some, rest and renewal and those sorts of things in your vacation. There was a little bit of and we're going to use the word disturbance, though it wasn't really a disturbance. The weather didn't always cooperate. And that did open something in you that needed to move. And it isn't that whether you have any thought that whether and things have to be perfect for you. It is, though, there's something in you that really needed to be released. And so that experience of your vacation being a mix of what felt really good and inviting and enriching, and also, a little bit of a disturbance in that pattern. When you went forward home, you went home because of that renewal, so ready that you didn't want to wait or do it slowly. You wanted to just relieve and to have the relief of kind of there being a component in your being or in, the history of your being or your experiences that kind of has a weight in it. And so you just kind of like said, let's just move it. Does that make sense?
Well, it almost killed me.
Yeah. And it didn't. It didn't.
Yeah, but
It didn't.
it was, yeah, it was
It
intense.
really, yeah. So, and so you can lean into it almost killed me. And you can also say, wow, that was a lot. And I'm standing and I'm on the other side of that. And it didn't kill me because I am so alive. And so the greater movement in you, like you went past anything in you that thought it could kill you, and you learned that it won't. Is that helpful to you?
Yeah, and well, it doesn't matter if I die or not. But well, it matters a little because I still like the work in the body,
Yeah.
and I enjoy it, and
Yeah.
I still have stuff to work on,
Yeah.
and so I'm not really ready to go yet. But
Not at all.
I'm
Not at
not
all.
scared of dying. I'm not scared of dying, but
No.
it was really, it was very intense,
Very significant.
and I felt that there's no way out of it. But I knew it's going to. I will do the work, and it will alleviate with time.
Yeah.
But it was
And so
very.
it's reaching into that knowing, like, because you're with you. And that's just one of the things we talk about is humans so often, particularly if there's challenge, will like not take themselves with them to where they go. You do. And what we see is, your being took you through like a very significant, and we do see that you're good with, what occurs because you feel safe in what is existence. And you're a willing participant of all of it. And actually a pretty, what do we word we would move with? It's kind of it's a fascinating joyfulness about life itself. And it was intense. And yet, as you said, I knew that I was willing to go through it, to show up, to take me with me, and to find myself where I am now. And there's still some things. And yet it's like you got this, the biggest or most, the loudest noise about it to get through. And now there can be some things that are, are still to move through. And yet you're good. You've really gained so much awareness of your well-being with yourself.
Yeah. It's my pain are my greatest teacher.
Yeah.
Provided
Yeah.
you know what to do about it.
Yes. So we often say it's never about the occurrence or what's happened or the experience. It's about your response to it, because that's where your power is. I get to decide what of myself I source myself from to move with and through this, and how I respond to what's occurring is in my hands. And you are really, really, and you take that as an honor to move with yourself through, even though it's not easy. Yes. And yet we also see that there's a part of you saying, and I'd be happy to have some of those things move in ways that feel really compelling and enjoyable also. Yes.
Yeah.
To not be so tough. Yes.
Yeah. I observed that I have developed kind of a little bit of addiction for pain because it gives me joy to heal it.
Ah, okay. Does it
Yeah.
give you joy to feel the relief of it also?
Yeah. Yeah. And this feeling after releasing and working out body pains,
Yeah.
through my meditations, the releasing, it feels good when you release. So,
Mhm.
but
And
I
so,
see there's a little bit of addiction of it.
yeah, there is. There's a bit of that, and yet that's what we're looking at is, listening to also that voice in you that's saying we can meet ourselves in an intensive a place with a differing vibration or mood or energy to it. We talk with people about what we call the rubber band stretch, yes, and what we mean by that is, if you take a rubber band and you stretch one part of it, which often trauma or challenge difficulty will stretch it, then sometimes your being thinks that what's happened though is it's stretched, and even though maybe it had the opportunity to come to its original form again, you've experienced something of yourself that's beyond that. And so then you start to desire, I need to have that beyond experience again, because it's got something in it for me that isn't in the unstretched rubber band. So what we offer to humans is, and humans tend to start then, going for the pain or the thing that stretched it to begin with, to have that expanded experience of themselves in. Remember that the whole rubber band can stretch. So realizing I'm going to let every component, every way, every sense of feeling in life, not only pain, but joy, peace, comfort, ease, those things can stretch, and I can have experience of myself as profoundly in those ways with life also, instead of only in the pain. And so it's let yourself open up. I choose to have an extraordinary experience in, something that feels like I would love to really have an expanded experience in, peace or enjoyment or engagement or, whatever it is, breathfulness. And I'm going to take myself there, because pain isn't the only thing that's going to get me there. Let pain know you're grateful. We
Yeah.
always say honor and be honest, sit with
I
it,
agree.
and then move into something else. Yes,
Yeah,
because
I
it's more
agree.
than just that.
I agree. I don't want the pain to be my best teacher
Yeah,
forever,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I observe that, and
indeed.
it's a major change. Yeah.
Yes. And so absolutely honor it, be grateful, and then put that and in there. Yes. And I want to experience it in other ways while I'm here. I want to do it in other ways also. Yes.
I also observed that because the pain is very static and dense, it gives me a frame of um, I can observe better how the energies are moving in myself,
Yes. Mhm.
because they those pains they are like a screen
Yes. They're
where
very loud.
where my energies that are trying to move through the pains are becoming like static, and I observe them,
Yes.
and
Mhm.
that way I can observe how I work as, and how human body works
Yes. Yes. And that
as
can be absolutely thrilling. And we encourage you
yeah, indeed.
because you want to experiment. I want to feel what another sensation feels like. And even if you start, working with a way you can start to move that if you want is, your sense of touch, because it's what you're kind of moving into, is it's an actual physical awareness
Yeah.
of that pain. I'm going to start touching and feeling texture and understanding what that is and seeing what my response is. Like, take yourself on a journey of discovering that you can do it through other ways that don't require pain for you to have that same up close, intimate, and pure experience with yourself as you do with pain.
Yeah, super good. Yeah. Okay, I appreciate for
Very
coming.
good. Very good.
And
Indeed.
hope
Thank
to
you.
see you next time.
Thank you. We appreciate you also very much.
Thank you.
Indeed.
Thank you. Joan, you had another question. You have your microphone now.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Greetings.
Hello.
Hi. I have a question about my in my meditation. During meditation, when I was sitting in my meditation, I see the gnome show up in my third eye, riding with the horse. And then after that, my face kind of shuffling, like the energy moves around, and so my third eye. So I opened my eyes and said, "Okay, this real that I see that gnomes?" So I said, "Okay, let me just lay down because I feel the energy on my face." So I lay down, and then after that, like maybe a couple minutes, uh, my my head explode into something. I don't know what happened. It's like an explosion. So I can't move my body. I have my awareness, but I can't move my body.
Okay.
And then after that, I fell asleep, and I dreamed something that I went to a gathering, and then they would talk about my mind. I mean, my head explode in my meditation. So can you tell me to understand what's what's that
What's
process?
happening?
Yeah. Thank you.
It's that your word explodes. That's quite a word, yes.
Yes.
And yet it kind of, we would refer to that as it becomes edgeless. And so you expand out into it. It almost looks as though you're doing a little bit of perhaps what maybe is referred to in your world as slipping through a portal. Expanding out into a larger awareness while remaining in your physical sense. As you offer your body, you can't move it. It's keeping itself very still to hold you, kind of like an anchor in your physical world while you travel for your experience of then it looks like maybe you're gathering or you're, just a moment here. That exploding is, it's almost, it's like you're stepping out into the edgelessness and the wholeness of self and existence while being in a very physical experience. And it's just a moment here. Yeah, you're a traveler. Do you have very vivid dreaming, or do you have dream recall sometimes and not at other times?
Yes, I
Okay.
have a lot of vivid dreams.
Because
And
we
astral travel.
go ahead.
Astral travel,
Yeah, astro
mostly.
travel. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And that's what we're seeing is you are a traveler. Yes. And so this is one of those ways. And when you say, is it real? When you ask a question, you're going to get an answer. Yes. And so the answer might come in trying to show you before your mind knows how to comprehend it. Yes. And so we would say that if you want to have a differing experience with it, and you're safe in having the experience that you are, yes. And when we speak safe, we're never speaking about like fearful safety. We're speaking about you're well held. Yes. It's, go and be curious and see what you gather, because it looks like you're a traveler for the purpose of gathering. There's something you want to bring with you into this current expression that you could help yourself or anything with. And it looks like you're also a weaver. Just a moment. We're having a lot of fun because, when you breathe your own breath, you're brilliant. Yes. So that you let yourself go. What we're seeing is like, well, I want to like connect the dots though. I want to be able to know how to utilize that or how to feel myself and what do I do with it? Yes. Just a moment. Right now, every time we ask you, you're saying, right now, I'm just in a gathering. I'm just in a moving into the traveling and starting to put things together. And then you're going to let yourself know what you're up to. Yes. So you're not
Okay.
actually floating. You're just moving beyond any former believed in edges, or confinements or container into a wider experience. So we would actually just say with that, or with your dreaming, or even when you kind of like let yourself just move into freed thought that doesn't have anywhere it has to go. We often talk about being curious, and people will say, well, I'm very curious. The difficulty is there's a curious that demands an immediate answer, which can actually be very confining. And there's a curious that actually births a multitude of answers and a way of moving with them. And so what we're looking at is let yourself have the fluidness. You're working on something to weave into your life forward. So
Thank you.
Ending.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Okay, let's get Angie's question, and then we'll go to the chat, and then we'll come back into the room. Okay, go ahead, Angie.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here today. One of the questions that was in the YouTube chat also sparked a a response from me. The question is, we as women are struggling with things like, the pain of childbirth, our menstrual cycles are, menopause, and just being, I'm going to do in quote, secondhand to that male energy. I personally have struggled with the people that are around me who are the male energy that they look at me different. They look down on me because I am a woman. But and even though I am very much in myself, I struggle because I have to continuously deal with that male energy suppression.
So we want to bring you a tool. Yes. And we absolutely recognize that. And that is something that, and we could talk for hours about, equity and equal value, and that, the fractures in that in your world right now. And also the divine feminine knowing, the divine feminine knows that for the world forward and in union, that the divine feminine and the divine masculine must be looking eye to eye. There's no levels. And again, we always throw in, there's no measurement in the universe. Yes, that's a separation human practice. So you struggle with that because you know who you are, and yet you still get energy from others that they see you as, or as less than that for whatever confusion they have in them. And so the tool we want to give you is what we call your inner grin. And it may seem like, well, how's that going to work? We're just going to really encourage you, practice it because it's powerful. This space, your sternum area in your bodies, excuse us, is what we refer to as your center of well-being. And it really is. And one of the ways we have people like realize that is if you're ever startled or frightened, very often your hand will come right here. You'll slap it hard. And that's really to like pop open your well-being and get it cranking strong. Another time we see humans put their hand to their chest is when they're in awe or in reverence or in care. And again, that's your well-being, is connecting with that. And so within that center of well-being is what we call your inner grin. And it's the space between the wisdom of your heart and the expression center of your throat. And so what a beautiful place for it. When someone treats you in that way, whether it's very overtly or it's kind of running around in the background, we encourage you to activate your inner grin. And what it does is it pulls like the corners of a smile or a grin upward in that well-being center. And it causes your lift. So anything in you that would like feel like it carries the weight of what somebody's sending towards you, or it's needs to be against or to battle with it or to reestablish yourself, anything that has any burden in it, it's instead you gain this lift. And which when you are in lift energy, which is the natural state of humans, not always practiced, but the natural state, what happens in that lift energy is then you also really ground and you get very centered. And sometimes, that inner grin, we bring it that way because it also is some humor and well-being and ease. And often when you really activate that inner grin, that energy moving that way, it can travel up and put a smirk on your face. Just so you know, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It can cause your eyes to glisten. It has your throat open. You relax because you know you are so well. And so no matter what somebody else is doing or saying, you don't for a moment lose a particle of yourself to what their confusion is. And you don't need to push against it or even, make them become accurate. It's, I already know that I am so well. And we're going to utilize this term that some people get a little hackled over. Your intentional ignorance doesn't sway me, and it doesn't harm me, and it doesn't make me any less. And it isn't that I'm needing to establish that. It's like you just like smile. That's sometimes, if somebody does or says something, like that pause where you just grin and you just let there be stillness and you don't speak to it. And then that's when, they might go to fill in the blank, or they might augment how they're feeling, or they might have it fall apart, because truly that intentional ignorance is choosing to believe something you have no real basis in. And we often say, ask somebody 3 questions about something that they're operating that way through. And by the 3rd question, they fall apart. By the 2nd one, often they have nothing that they can really connect it to that's real. And so you don't need, it's not your responsibility to do that with the other person. It's not your, it's not your burden to make people see you or any, female accurately. It's my joy to stand really clear and activate my inner grin and know how powerful and beautiful it is, and how amazing it is, and how equal it is that I'm a woman. And that just all moves energetically, and you will feel more well-being, and the energy of what they're sending starts to dissipate as yours is just so clear. Is that helpful?
Extremely,
Wonderful.
extremely helpful. Just like when I'm by myself, which is when I am in my greatest power within myself.
Mhm.
You know, I am who I am in everything around me, but I just sometimes allow, and I say that to myself, it's on me for
Mhm.
allowing these people to
Yeah.
diminish who I am.
Yeah. And sometimes you do, and it's like, oh, wow, I just let myself do that. We can tell you if we have a minute here, we can tell you why that happens. It's because you move to a don't want. And anytime someone is in don't want, we call it a field over here, yes? Anytime a don't want from, something that feels really minimal to something that feels really significant, threat opens up, it activates threat. And so it destabilizes and distorts how you move with something. So when you open that inner grin, you ground in what you do want and you don't get destabilized and the threat isn't in the play and then you don't let it in. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Absolutely.
And as far as being in the midst, when you're on your own, you can feel it. We often encourage people, to kind of be seagrass, to feel yourself kind of, like this. There's so much in the sea that's moving through. And, just you only get the bits and pieces that actually complement you, and the rest can just keep on going right through it. Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Very good. Beautiful.
Thank you so much for your love and light.
Ah, absolutely. And we thank you for yours.
Thank you. There's one more question in the YouTube chat I just want to get to that says, because the questions were very similar about feminine energy. So this last question is from Cami, says, rather enormous changes are necessary in the minds of human if we're going to tag along with the Earth's ascension.
Mm-hmm.
What is that enormous and big enough to make it so?
That is union. So when we talk about spirit-led existence, when you really open into who you actually are instead of who you've been formed to be by yourself and the world around you, and you can do it from right where you are, yes? That when you start practicing yourself in your actual essence, you're opening union. Union energy is the actual natural state. And that's why we're here, is to assist people with remembering that. And it can be, well, the whole world, though, is clinking and and I choose to move in this way, to listen that way, to see that way, to hear that way, to process that way, to share it through every action, through every step upon the earth. I am, my more and more clarity of becoming into this truth of love and the truing of self. And so as you move with that, it really does. We know that from, we have a loft view perspective. The movement toward union has moved farther than it ever has before. And that's part of the causing of the conflict. So it's just making it so clear. Nothing that is destructive in your world is new. It's been there for a long time. It's getting more and more obvious, which is actually a strength. And so when you lean more into having that awareness right out loud, and you move into what you actually are as an existence, as a being, which is love that is of loving, when you move with that, and then whether you ever talk to the person next to you or not, it's moving, just like we said, that breath, as I'm exhaling and inhaling, exhaling, inhaling, I'm exchanging with the world around me. It has impact. There are more of you who are choosing to rise in what really works beautifully as a humanity and in who you actually are than there are those who are pushing against it. We often remind people that those who are yelling and screaming the loudest are doing that because they know they're losing ground and they're trying to fill the space. It's a quiet wisdom and a quiet divinity that is moving through, that will be part of the shift that changes everything.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Okay, Wendy. Wendy has a question, and this will be our go ahead.
Yes, thank you. When astral travel got brought up, I do a lot of astral travel, and this
most recent experience was I was inside like a building with the conference, and we were exiting. There was big picture windows, and I said, "Oh, it's too cold to go outside." And then I was outside anyway. And so then I'm going down the stairs, and they were ancient mossy stairs and very long in length. 50 feet up to 100 feet in length. So going down the stairs, and there was a nice, green grassy hill. Okay, so in front of me is a river. Across the river are these men. They have these yellow uniforms on, like firemen, and they're hooded. And then they're like rescuing a guy from the side of the cliff, and they bring him over to where they're at. And then after they get him, and I'm watching the scene happen, and then they all seem kind of relaxed, and then they take off their hoods, and then they take off masks. And so I'm wondering, what is this a representation of, with these men removing their hoods and masks in the rescue?
They did it after the rescue?
Yeah, they took the masks off after the rescue. So they rescued the man from around the side of this cliff, and they're all on the other side of the river, all hanging onto cliffs as well. But they rescue him to safety, and then they take off their masks.
So the message that's coming through as we look at that is no more hiding. And that hiding isn't what rescues or keeps, safety. So stepping out of hiding and into reveal of who they actually are. There's no need for a mask. There's no need to be hooded. The water is, fluidity of life. The windows are, in this instance, and symbolism in this changes according to where somebody is moving. But as we are watching you, and you even, it's too cold to go outside, and then yet you are out there, the windows symbolize that you are always out in it. And so then you found yourself there, and you're a witness, and you're a witness to a rescue and to the stepping out of hiding. And that rescue is about rescuing people from peril through revealing and no longer being in hiding. If that is helpful to you, that is what is coming.
Ah,
Mm-hmm.
that sounds like the spiritual work that I do with healing
Beautiful.
as a quantum healer. That's
Yeah.
Oh boy, wow.
Yeah,
Okay then.
absolutely.
Even though I was watching it
Yeah. Well, you
versus
hold witness. Yeah.
yeah,
Important role.
and helping them take their masks off and
Because a
opening
healer,
themselves
we
up to their
always
truth.
offer that the healer is actually the one on the table. It's the receiver. And then you're the conduit for the healing. Mhm.
Right. Facilitator, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Wow. That's beautiful expression. A beautiful expression of seeing myself from the other side.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for that.
Indeed.
Yeah. Beautiful insight. Wonderful. Thank you.
Well, we've actually kind of come to the end of our time. I could expect we could go on for quite some time, but the clock is telling me differently. And I'm respecting your time, your physical.
We will be happy to come and play again anytime. Yes.
Well, we will definitely invite you back. So thank you very much. And thank you for allowing us to invite you back. So it's been a beautiful pleasure and an honor to speak with you, to be in your presence, and to share your energy. So sending so much love, and thank you again for being in this moment with us. Thank you.
Indeed. And we thank you very much. And just so you all know, once we've met a being, we tend to hang around a bit. Unless you ask us to leave.
Okay. Yeah.
We thank you for the love that you are in the world. Be well.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hey.
Yeah.
It's funny. See my mascara. One of my, I know this needs to be quick, but one of my very first in-person groups, somebody asked about it, their daughter who committed suicide, and the Marys reflected the emotion. And little did I know I had mascara to my chin until I went into the bathroom. And nobody told me, like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, the tears will come and you don't even know.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you so very much. Before we go, why don't you, actually, I would like you to do a blessing if you would to
Hmm.
take us out, but go ahead and do the blessing and then I'll have you give your contact information and how people can reach you and
Okay.
connect to you. Yeah.
Gosh, doing a blessing isn't something I'm accustomed to. It feels like to live our lives through our truest state of love as we know how to meet it in every moment is the blessing for
Beautiful.
ourselves and each other.
Well,
So continue.
short and sweet. That's what I like. So, how can people get in touch with you? How can they reach you? And do you have you have events if you're in the Chicago area, anyone?
Mhm.
You
Yeah, so I had mentioned at the beginning that we're for this first circle of 13 women, tomorrow is the immersion day. If you're interested in learning more about that, you can get on our website or anything really at themarygroup.com. We do have meditation series. We have other series that are on there that can be that are downloadable. We've got a couple books. Morning Messages with the Marys, which is like just a daily good prompt for life, and then some of their teachings in Living Without Edges. You can contact me through our website. Just always, something new moving. We do live events mostly in Chicago and Milwaukee areas.
Okay, perfect. So please, themarygroup.com. And yeah, we would definitely love to have you back. It's been a really pleasure or joy to have you. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for what you're doing in the world with these conversations.
Thank you so much. Angie, do you have our announcement? We have one announcement, but Angie, we have to do it.
Well, technically, there's two now, so.
No.
I know it, I know it. Okay, so the first one that is consistent is we have our Hucolo gathering scheduled for August this year, August 8th through 12th, 2024. Price is $6.95, and you can send an email to classes@hucolo.org if you're interested, have any questions about that. The second announcement we have is I have a Galactic Energy Healing Level 1 class scheduled for Sunday, February 18th from noon to 5 Eastern Standard Time. If you're interested in learning Galactic Energy Healing, again, send an email to classes@hucolo.org. The price for the Galactic Energy Healing class is $150.
Perfect. What is it? Okay, perfect.
If I might mention, I just remembered, if you're interested, we do have a Facebook group that is a soft, warm, wise, and humorous place to land. Welcome to Japan.
Soft, warm, wise, and a humorous place to land.
Yes. Yep.
All right.
Cute. Okay. Well, everyone needs that.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
So thank you, everybody. Next week, Jim will be back. Is that right? Yes, Jim will be back next week. My brain is not working today. No problem. So next week we'll have Jim back, and then after that is Will, Jim, and then some other person will be here. Okay. Much love to everyone. It's really great to see you every week. Thank you to everyone in the YouTube chat, to everyone in the Zoom room, and we will see you next time. Blessings to everyone.